Hello, guys. Welcome to the second episode of the RP Talks with Agape. I hope you're having a fantastic day. So, today we're going to talk about something which was a very important lesson for me. And I hope you would like what you are going to hear from me today. But before that, I want to share something about my past with you. So when I was a kid, I was a huge nerd and a loser. I was constantly getting beaten and harassed by the boys in my class. I was very incompetent inside of the masculine hierarchy in my environment, let's just say. And because of that, almost all of the boys excluded and shunned me. I had to prove myself to them and gain their respect, but of course, I never realized this was the solution to my problems. And instead of that, I found another way to feel good and competent about myself and completely watered down my real incompetencies and focus on getting better at them. And that way was being the nerd of my class and getting the highest grades. But even that turned out not to be enough, so I have decided to be the most intellectually sophisticated person in my friend zone. And for that, I read a lot of books. And when I say a lot, I mean a lot. I read basically everything I can get in my hands. I was mostly in love with the fantasy books where the hero was a complete loser in the beginning, but suddenly a miraculous life-changing event happens and the guy finds himself in an incredible adventure, and in the end of that adventure nothing is the same anymore. The kid transitions to a man. I was emphasizing the books I read in a way that if I was living them. And this was making me feel so good about myself that I wasn't getting uncomfortable with my social and relational problems anymore. In fact, I accepted and embraced of being the antisocial and the autistic guy in everybody's eyes. I didn't care anything about what other people were thinking about me, and I was very much mistaken to believe that this was such an empowering thing. It took me a lot of time to understand that I lacked something very fundamental in my masculinity. That if I don't start fixing it immediately, I'll have a miserable life. And I did it. But you know what was the most essential change I did with my life that worked for me the most? I stopped reading books. So this is what life taught me, and I'm sharing this with you now. Reading books are not gonna make you a better man. This is a very unpopular opinion of mine, which I know that it's true by experience. Books don't directly benefit your life. Don't get me wrong, I still love reading books and I will continue to do that, but I no longer am sold of the idea that the more you read books, the more you'll get closer to the state of nirvana, that you somehow will reach enlightenment and all of the problems of your life will magically be solved. This is a social fantasy where people are watering down and rationalizing their social and psychological failures by convincing themselves that they're doing something useful. It's a form of escapism. Hold on for a minute before you start stoning me, okay? I'm not saying that reading books are not useful at all and inherently a bad thing. But one thing is certain, that a lot of people are reading books because they want to change their lives and they're convinced by the mainstream media that the only way to achieve that is reading a lot of psychology, philosophy, personal development, and self-help books. I hate to break it to you, but the thought that reading a book will directly change your life is a lie. There is only one thing that will change your life, and that is to take action. You bring two guys. One of them could be the guy that read 10,000 books in a year, and the other reads only three but has more life experience than the bookworm. You can see that reading books are not that much of a detrimental quality for one's fulfillment of life. Reading books can be an enjoyable activity, but when its meaning and benefits are exaggerated, which is clearly the case in modern society, it can easily turn into a form of mental masturbation. And I see this in a lot of guys, especially with the guys that are not much going on in their lives. They tend to completely water down the real reason why their life sucks and what they can do to change it. hence lack complete accountability because they don't want to face their incompetence, but pretending like they're enlightened human beings just because they read books. How do I know? Because I was one of them. Reading books are not going to fill the world inside of you that you're desperately trying to fill in. Reading books is not necessarily going to give you a purpose. And although it can help you to discover that, but that's not the point. And please don't tell me about the Bible. Okay? It's a completely different story. Reading books are not going to give you Reading books are not going to help you overcome your insecurities. Reading books are not going to give you a girlfriend. Reading books are not going to make you rich. And reading books is certainly not going to make you a better person than someone who doesn't read as much as you. You know what will help you in all that? Taking action. Doing something with your life. Giving decisions. Making mistakes. Getting heartbroken. Losing an investment. The masculine world is the world of action. Reading books is a state of inaction. Action always trumps inaction. You have to understand that you're a man and you have a masculine inheritance in your genes, in your bloodline from your ancestors. So the only thing that is gonna give you a fulfilled life is to live like a man and do the things that men do since the dawn of human time. And guess what? Most of the time, they didn't read books. They didn't achieve their biggest achievements by just sitting there and reading. They took action. I know this is gonna piss some people off, but there's nothing wrong with not reading books, especially nowadays. There's a million ways to learn things, there's a million ways to experience things. You don't have to actually read fucking books to learn things, okay? This is something that triggers me a little bit when I see it in my daily life because people seem to forget that books can easily be a form of escapism as well. It's like imagine, let's just say there are two kids, one of them is playing video games all day and the other one is reading books all day. There is fundamentally no difference between them. It's not inherently superior than playing video games. They're both entertainment, they're both wasting time instead of doing something more useful or things that boys do, which involves physical activity. Look, I am saying this as someone who loves reading. I love reading. But I had to learn to get off my ass and go out to the real world and do real things. That was my lesson. You gotta understand that there's a time and place of being a zombie and just observing some content and actually doing stuff with your life. There's a time and place for both. Years ago, I have heard this from Andrew Tate. He was saying that the books don't provide knowledge, they provide information. And I was thinking at that time, this is just some dumb fuck semantics. But in time I have realized that he was correct. This is something that I have learned when I was studying in music in my university. I am graduated from music education, by the way, and I was taking this class called the musical harmony, and it is a deep theory of music, so you have to read a lot of music books and dive into the nerd stuff of music, which I hated it, and that class was a huge burden of my educational career. So this experience helped me to realize that you can read a book about music, but you will not understand anything. You're not going to learn anything if you read a book about music. If you want to learn what's in the book, you have to practice it, like every single page that you like. The book is saying something about harmony. You learn this harmonic progression and the substitution for a chord reading, and it's gonna put the information in your brain, but it's not gonna give you the practical knowledge of how to use that as a musician. In order to actually use that, you need to sit down in front of your piano, your guitar, your fucking instrument, and play the chords. Practice the chords, try them out, the substitution, listen to it, hear what difference it makes every single time. You need to do all of that stuff so you can get the information from a book. But to actually learn it, you have to practice it. So yes, if you want to learn a skill, you need to actually practice it. You have to apply the information you get from the books and make it into a knowledge that you have. And I think that this needs to be said more often, especially these days. And I said it. So, okay, guys, this was today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you for joining the RP Talks with Agape. See you next time.